his council on their inability to defend Virginia against the Dutch attack. That would probably have to do with what?
Geography.
Geography. You're probably going to use that with geography. The fact that the New England colonies, because they're farther away from the Spanish, are more secure or not as endangered as those in the Chesapeake because of geography. Document H, Bacon's Manifesto. What do you think that goes with?
Social.
Social. It's about his conflict with the planter class. Okay. So that's the documents. So you can see what's probably going to be, in terms of outside information, your weakest point. I mean, not outside information, in terms of actually just information from the documents, what's going to be your weakest point. Geography. But probably in terms of common sense, geography should be your strongest paragraph, because you're going to be able to explain so much about the climate and so many details about the colonists who settled Jamestown and go into outside information about New England. This one you're really going to have to hammer home the connection to the economy. Because New England and the Chesapeake developed two very different economies. And with economics, you're going to have to, that's kind of going to be like your close. You're going to sum up all the different things that happen as a result. Go ahead and pause it. Go to schools, click on high school, academics, social studies, my name, AP, hot potato. Okay? What you can do tonight, if you want to review and you want to try to prepare yourself for what questions might be on there, you can play this hot potato game. Okay, now, if I were you, I would also make sure that I have read my chapter. Okay? I would get with one of the people who has taken notes. I would look at notes. I'd play hot potato. But I would also, those white books that you have, where like the first section might deal with it's kind of like a crash course. It's kind of like a condensed version of the book. You might read that. So those things might help you prepare for your test tomorrow. Because it's straight up multiple choice. That's how the AP exam is. It's going to be about 80, I think last year was 80 questions. Might be like 85. But it's going to deal with the first 4 chapters. Talked about yesterday would be politics. Well, actually that's not one of them. My bad. Geography. Persia will work for most things, but it won't work entirely in this case. Geography, economics, social / religious. Okay? Implications and changes. Now, pause that, Kate. Both settled largely by people of English origins. In 1700, the regions had evolved into 2 distinct societies. Why did this difference in development occur? This goes back to your 3 main points, which are geography, probably social, religious, and then economic. Now, one of the things you have to do is, when you're writing an essay, you have to figure out which documents go with which main point, because you're going to use them to support the main points. So, for instance, document A, John Winthrop, a model of Christian charity. What? Good. Probably goes with social and religious. Okay. The other thing is, when you read the documents, you have to pick out the most important points. And I'm going to cheat and just tell you for this first DBQ. But as we go along, I'm going to ask you to pick out the most important points. Okay? As you scan through. That's going to be one of our goals this year, is for you to pick out 7 to 8 words that basically sum up this, the most important points of this. People will have short attention spans. Readers, if you stick this entire quote into your essay as like filler, the reader is going to be very upset. He's just going to ignore you and basically assume that you don't know what you're talking about. So you've got a very brief amount of time to get your point across. You have to get to the point. That means you're going to take 7 to 8 words out of this. okay, what you would pick, and this is the quote that they picked one year for the AP reading. Every year we have a shirt with a quote on it. The other year it was Richard Nixon. We will solve the world's energy crisis by the 1970s. Yeah, haven't solved that one. That's why it was a quote. It was funny. But we must consider that we shall be as a city upon a hill. You've heard that before. The eyes of all people are upon us. You're probably going to take that quote out, okay? And you're going to use it with social and religious. But another great quote is, we must entertain each other in brotherly affection. We must be willing to abridge ourselves of our superficialities for the supply of others' necessities. Well, that's pretty good, but here you get to the meat of it, the part you really want to use. We must uphold a familiar commerce together in all meekness, gentleness, patience, and liberty. Scratch that. This is the part you want. Keep trying to read ahead. We must delight. This is the part you want. We must delight in each other, make each other's condition our own, rejoice together, mourn together, labor and suffer together, always having before our eyes our commission and community in the work. Okay? That's the part you're going to take out. You want that part. Okay, that last part we read. We must delight. Okay, because what does that say about the type of community they're setting up? What does it say about social and religious? They're going to be unified. They're working together for a common goal. They're working together for the common good. They have a communal goal. That is a key fundamental difference between New England and the Chesapeake. The Chesapeake Bay colonies, what were the colonists working towards? Getting money. Okay? They want to get as much money as they possibly can. That's the goal they're working towards. Where in New England, they're working with the idea of community together. So Winthrop's A Model of Christian Charity is going to be one example of that. Pause it. Document C, what do you think document C goes with?
Social.
It could go with the economy. It does apply to the indentured servants. Social. Okay.
I got it. That was me.
Document C is showing you a ship's list of immigrants bound for Virginia. Now, just kind of guesstimating, how many guys' names do you think are up there?
102.
I'm going to go with Stinson, somewhere between like 60 and 70. Okay? What do you notice about the girl names?
Not very many.
Not very many. There's about 10. With social, this is where with document C you're going to start using this to prove your point. Okay? The documents have to support your point. And then you have to bring in outside evidence. Pause it, okay? Okay, so we've got our geography, economics, social, religious. So far we know that document A is probably going to go with our second main point. I'd say this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3, because economics is going to be your closing argument, because all the others influence what happens with that. Normally you want your last point to be your strongest point, but in this case, geography is going to be first, because that's really what contributes to a lot of it. Social and religious is impacted by the geography, and then the economics is kind of like an end result of the other two. But where did document B go? Let's look at document B. Ship's list of immigrants bound for New England. Document B would go with social and religious. And document C we know goes with social and religious. Now, how you use these documents? Okay, we'll take document C. Okay, you've got an underwritten list of ship's immigrants to Virginia. Pause. Immigrants. What I would do is I might total up all the guys and then total up the girls, and you might say something to the extent that geography played a role in shaping the social and religious communities that developed in New England Chesapeake Bay. Okay, so one of the things is your first main point is probably going to be geography. One of the things they're going to teach you as you get into more advanced writing classes is you want transition. You want the reader to be able to follow your point. So what I've done is we're basically assuming I talked about my first main point. I've referenced what my first main point was. Geography played a key role in shaping the social colonies, in shaping the social and religious communities. So I've kind of referenced then the main point that I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be focusing on the religious communities. That's what this next paragraph is going to be about. And you might say, for instance, many of the colonists going to Virginia were young, single men, and mostly indentured servants. This was a result of the Chesapeake colony's reliance on a single cash crop. Okay, and that kind of explains how it relates to geography. But now you've got to use the document to enhance your point. And you can put in the 1635 ships list of immigrants to Virginia, blank were men and blank were women. And what you do is you would total those up. That counts as basically you using the document. Because you're not going to list every guy's name and every girl's name, their dates and ages and things like that. You won't have time to do that. What you're going to list is maybe specific details that will show the reader that you've interpreted the information. The next step, was that the door? Go ahead, Nick. The next step would be then to put document C. Because what you're going to show is you're going to show where you got the information. Doc C explains where you got the information from. You don't ever start with writing a DBQ. You don't ever put in the beginning, you wouldn't put like, in document B, for example, or in document C, for example. Don't ever start with that. Don't ever use first person. You never use I, we, me, us, our great country, America's so awesome. You're not going to use things like that. That to the reader is just filler, okay? You want to make sure that you're very precise and to the point, and you don't have to say in Doc B, for example. You're just putting where you got the information from at the end.
It wasn't in his office.
Okay. All right. Hit pause. The other thing is, when you're using this information, you have to have outside evidence to support your point. So right now we're on social and religious. Okay, and you're doing this essay is comparing and contrasting. They're asking you to explain the differences between the Chesapeake and New England. So, with New England, with social, what do we know about New England socially? Okay, religious freedom. They have families as a key point.